Hey everybody, welcome to another special Crack-A-Pack on the Mana Leak. I'm John, as always, and we're, as always, going back in time. Back a little bit further this week, back to Scourge. Scourge is not a set that I know very well. It was, I believe, the third set in the Onslaught block, and it was the Dragon set before Dragons of Tarkir came out. The expansion symbol of this set is even a dragon's head. There's a dragon right there on the booster pack. Unfortunately, there weren't that many dragons in the set. It was kind of a misstep to call it the dragon set. Really, Dragons of Tarkir is arguably much more the dragon set, even though a lot of them are kind of bad and you don't really want to play most of them in limited. But we're going to open up Scourge and see what we can find. Scourge was also the final set before 8th edition. So we have the old borders here, and then the very next set introduced the new borders that we knew of up until M15 anyways, when we got the new borders. So anyways, first up we have Dragon Breath. I guess a lot of the cards kind of mentioned dragons, but there weren't that many actual dragons. This is 1 and a red for an enchant creature. This would be an enchant aura these days. Enchanted creature has haste. Pay a red. Enchanted creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. When a creature with converted mana cost 6 or more comes into play, you may return Dragon Breath from your graveyard to play, enchanting that creature. So this basically gives your creature hasty fire breathing, and then when you play a really big creature later in the game, if this is in the graveyard, which it may very well be because it's an aura, it gets to come back onto that big creature. So maybe you get to give your dragon fire breathing or your big worm fire breathing or whatever. Doesn't seem like a good card. Doesn't seem like that's something I would pack one, pick one at all. So we're going to pass on that. Next up we have Wipe Clean. This is a 1 and a white instant. It says remove target enchantment from the game. So exile target enchantment is what that would read these days. It also has cycling 3. So at instant speed you can pay 3, discard this card, and draw a card. Cycling's kind of nice if you have a card that just isn't doing you much good, or you just really happen to need some card draw. You can do this preferably end of your opponent's end step and get a card. Which is good, because I don't see this card being playable otherwise. You would need to sideboard this in if there's some sort of super troublesome enchantment, but definitely not a main deckable card, and so not a first pick either. Next up we have Uncontrolled Infestation. Yeah, that's it. 1 and a red for an enchant land. Uncontrolled Infestation can enchant only a non-basic land. When enchanted land becomes tapped, destroy it. Blow it up. So I don't know what the non-basic lands are like in this set. I know there's the Onslaught fetch lands, which we got in Khans of Tarkir, but of course those are going to be blowing themselves up anyways. I don't know if there's some troublesome or serious non-basic lands in this set. Even if there were, I can't really imagine this card being pickable and playable, because those lands would probably be rare, so you may very well just not see them. Seems like a constructed card, and weak at that anyways. Next up we have Dragon again. Dragonfangs. Looks like this might be a cycle with Dragon Breath. 1 and a green for enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has trample. And yeah, same thing as Dragon Breath. When a creature with converted mana cost 6 or greater comes into play, you can return this from your graveyard to play, enchanting that creature. This one seems a little bit better than Fire Breathing. Fire Breathing, not that great. +1/+1 and trample, it's a little bit better. It's still not something I want to pay 1 green for. When it comes back, and if it maybe comes back multiple times, that would be cool. It would also mean that my creatures had died a whole lot, and that's not typically what you want to build your decks to aspire to, so I don't think we're going to be taking this either. I do, however, enjoy that beast or whatever it is with the gigantic dragon's teeth. Next up we have Death's Hand Buzzard. This is I believe in the cube, possibly the MTGO cube. I've definitely played with this card before. It's a 1 black flying 2/1. When Death's Hand Buzzard is put into a graveyard from play, all creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. So maybe you get to partially wipe the board. Maybe you get to do some fun things after combat. Of course, your opponent's going to know this is coming. They're not going to just destroy this creature in exchange for half their board or something like that. But it's a nice threat. A 2/1 flyer is totally fine for 3, and a cool little leaves the battlefield effect on top of it. Hopefully not first picking, but it's the best card so far, I'd say. Next up, we have Scornful Egoist. This I've seen as well, perhaps in Momir, actually, because it is an 8-drop. 7 blue for a 1/1. Yeah, you heard that right. 7 blue for a 1/1. Why does it cost 8? Who knows? But you're never going to cast it for 8, or at least I certainly hope not. It's got morph, so you can pay 3 to play it face down as a 2/2. And then if you really needed to, and I don't know why you would, you could pay a blue to unmorph it and change it from a 2/2 into a 1/1. I feel like there must be some synergy with this. It may not be good synergy, but I feel like there must be some use for this card out there, or some intended use. But that use is not first picking this card, I would have to say. Next up, we have Dispersal Shield. 1 and a blue, instant. Counter target spell if its converted mana cost is less than or equal to the highest converted mana cost among permanents you control. That is a very narrow, very conditional counter spell. Yeah, I can't see this being good. I can't see this being good at all. At least if it's late game and you have a really big beefy creature out, it then kind of becomes just straight up counterspell and technically cheaper because it's 1 blue instead of 2 blue. But that requires a whole lot, and it can be disrupted. If they blow up that big creature in response to this spell, then the counterspell may just not work. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can, consistently get the stuff down that you need, but I just don't see it happening. I don't like that kind of inconsistency in my draft decks. Next up, we have Torment of Fire. This is a 3 red sorcery. Torment of Fire deals damage equal to the highest converted mana cost among permanents you control to target creature or player. So it looks like this might be a cycle with Dispersal Shield, too. This one seems a lot better. I wish it was instant speed, but still, 5 mana to deal damage to target creature or player equal to the highest CMC of permanents you control seems pretty good. This can kind of come down whenever you want. Dispersal Shield, there's going to be extraordinarily specific points in the game that you need it to work. This, it's a lot broader. There's a lot more situations where this could work. That creature that you want to kill can sit on the battlefield for 2 turns maybe, or 3 turns until you get what you need. But the counterspell has to be done right at the second that spell is being cast. So I do like Torment of Fire more, and it might be the front runner right now. Next up, we have Avin Liberator. 2 white for a 2/3 flyer. It's got morph as well, so pay 3, you get a 2/2, pay 3 and a white to unmorph it. And it has an unmorph ability. When Avin Liberator is turned face up, target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. So it's got a nice little God's Willing or stave off or whatever you want to call it attached to it when you unmorph. Seems fairly okay. 2/3 flyers, totally fine for 4. There's better costed flyers out there. Perhaps that's more these days, though, and not necessarily those days. Seems okay. Not first pickable, I don't think, but probably includable in your white decks. Next up, we have Lingering Death. This is a 1 and a black enchant creature. The controller of enchanted creature sacrifices it at the end of his or her turn. So, yeah, this is a pretty solid seeming removal spell, I think. 1 and a black, throw it on a creature, and if that creature is not dead by the end of the turn, or the aura isn't somehow removed, then it will be dead at the end of the turn. This seems like pretty solid removal to me. This seems like cheap, relatively efficient, relatively unconditional, guaranteed removal. I can't quite see the downside of this card, to be honest. It's going to make your opponent very willing to attack with that creature that turn. But, this card seems pretty good to me, I gotta say. Next up, we have Sprouting Vines. This is a 2 and a green instant. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal that card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. It also has Storm. I didn't even know Storm was in this set. So what Storm is when you play this spell, copy it for each spell played before it this turn. So if you played a couple of spells and then you played this one, you get 3 copies of this card. So you get a lot of basic lands into your hand. Now it's into your hand, not onto the battlefield. You don't get to increase the number of land drops you have, making this card significantly worse than it could have been. You're going to fill your hands with cards and not ramp in any way, shape, or form. It's got color fixing. You know, you can help smooth out your mana for future turns, but ultimately this just seems pretty darn awful, I gotta say. Next up, we've got our first uncommon, and it's a gold card. Didn't know there were gold cards in this set. It's Edgewalker. 1 white-black for a 2/2, so a 3-mana 2/2. Cleric spells you play cost white-black less to play. This effect reduces only the amount of colored mana you pay, so it doesn't reduce colorless mana. So, I mean, if you have 2 of these, the second one costs you 1 colorless. A 1 colorless 2/2 is pretty darn good. Yeah, I would have to know how many clerics there are in this set. I don't believe we've opened any soldier, wizard, and a whole bunch of auras. Oh, and a bird. Yeah, I mean, if there's a lot of clerics, if there's a lot of good clerics, if you can build a cleric deck, this guy seems pretty cool. If you can't, it seems like a 3-mana 2/2, which is not super playable. Next up, we've got Alpha Status. 2 and a green for an enchant creature. Lots of enchantments. Wow. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 for each other creature in play that shares a creature type with it. So if you can assemble a really good tribal deck, this might be good, but I don't know of the validity of doing that. And I would not want to bank on my pack one, pick one being able to go that way. I mean, that is the place where you pick build-around cards, but this doesn't really seem like a great build-around card. Your creature's still going to, eat a piece of removal, eat Lingering Death, and this aura is just going to go bye-bye. Next up, we have Scourge. Yep, Scourge Vulcanist. 3 and a red for a 3/1, 4-mana 3/1. It's got Morph, so you can pay 3 to make this a 2/2, and then to unmorph it, you actually have to sack 2 mountains. When Scourge Vulcanist is turned face up, it deals 3 damage, divided as you choose among any number of target creatures. That seems not terribly bad. If there's a lot of X1s in this set, then you could potentially do some pretty serious damage flipping this up. You have to sack 2 mountains, but as a pseudo curve topper, not quite a curve topper, kind of like a 4, 5, 6 drop area, which I guess is your curve topper. This guy could be pretty good. Late game, he seems pretty good. You can do some, nasty combat shenanigans with this, flipping it up. If the games go late enough, I don't see that sacking 2 mana or 2 mountains as a huge problem per se, especially in your typical red deck, which wouldn't need all that many lands. If this is a fast format, then maybe this isn't as good. But yeah, seems fine. Probably not the pick, but seems fine. And our rare is Sulphuric Vortex. All right. So that is the second Sulphuric Vortex we have opened in this series. We opened it in the Conspiracy Pack, and now we've opened it in, I assume, the original printing of it in Scourge. This is a global enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, Sulphuric Vortex deals 2 damage to that player. If a player would gain life, that player gains no life instead. So this goes into what I was just talking about, the really speedy red deck. This goes in the deck that has burn, has 1-drops and 2-drops getting in there for damage. So yeah, you're losing 2 damage a turn, but hopefully your opponent's losing a lot more than that. And this could probably close the game out pretty darn quickly, I gotta say. So that really leaves us with, I think, 2 picks, Sulphuric Vortex and Lingering Death. Not knowing the format, I don't know how easy it would be to assemble the super fast red Sulphuric Vortex deck. If that would be possible, Sulphuric Vortex is the clear pick. If that's not possible, Lingering Death is the pick. If I were sitting down at a table right now with no knowledge, and I probably wouldn't sit down at a table with no knowledge of this draft, especially if I was paying for it, I would probably have to play it ever so slightly safe and take the Lingering Death. It's removal. I know it's going to work. I don't necessarily know Sulphuric Vortex is going to work. That being said, Sulphuric Vortex could very well be the pick. If you have Scourge experience, Onslaught block experience, let me know. I'd love to know what the right pick was for this pack was, or what you think the right pick would be. Is it Lingering Death? Is it Sulphuric Vortex? Did I completely miss something in the other pile of cards there? Definitely let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, you can always find me on Twitter at The Mana Leak. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. And you can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/The Mana Leak. You've already found me here on YouTube. If you like the videos, you can click that little thumbs up icon to help my videos climb up the ranks. You should also subscribe to my channel. There's a button below each video, and there's a button in the outro of each video. That'll keep you up to date on all the latest Crack-A-Pack Tuesdays, Wacky Wednesdays, Spiky Saturdays, special Crack-A-Packs, loot crate unboxings, box openings, and any other things that happen to pop up on this channel. You'll be one of the first to know that it happens, and it also helps me reach more viewers. As always, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you all next time.